version control and deployments. So what does it mean? It's a really big topic in software development in general, that you want to be able to have version control of all the files and all the components that you work with. And you also want to be able to, in the easiest way, deploy your changes into, for example, your development environment, your production environment, your UAT, so user acceptance testing environment, where they can test your changes, where you can also work with other developers together, and also then what is running in production and is running the business or the part that you are developing. So why version control and deployments? First of all, I want to cover some general concepts, and then later we will also talk about why in Coalesce and what is the special things that Coalesce does about these topics. So in general, version control is a big thing in terms of traceability. So let's say you have a team of developer working on a file, or even just yourself, you're working on a file and you make your changes, and then after 3 days, you're thinking, maybe I would like to bring that back, or I would like to see what exactly did I change? Something broke over time in your software, and you want to know why. What did I do that had this big impact? And if you use version control, you're able to basically see different states of that file or that part of the software, and you can go back, you can go forward until the most recent change, and you're able to see step by step what exactly did you change. And you can also think, okay, I did this change and it led to whatever happened today in production. Nothing is working anymore, so I should take that back. So this is one of the really big benefits you get, traceability. And then collaboration. I already briefly talked about it. Let's imagine you're working alone on your files. Everything is fine. You have one file, you do a change, and that's it. You have the new version of a file. But now let's say you have a file and you're working in a team of maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 20 people developing on that one part of the software. And now if you don't have version control, you do a change and that change occurs for everyone. Maybe even deleting their changes, what they also wanted to add in this part of the software. But if you use version control, you are able to see, okay, what part of the file, the part of the software was there. And you're also getting assistance in bringing all the changes together. So let's say one developer works on the same file as the other, and someone adds one functionality, the other one a second functionality, and it helps to bring these parts together so that there's not just one version. I mean, in the end, yeah, but on the way there, it helps you to bring together what everyone is working on. And also, in case of deletes or similar, you will get a really strong assistance there. Then accountability. Production fails, something happens, and the question is, what happened? Who did it? There's also this term called blame, to blame someone in terms of version control, what of course should not be used in a bad way, but you will know which change from who helped with something, maybe added a cool new function, and you will be able to cheer that person. Or you also know if someone, broke something in the code, who it was with the change, and you will also get clarity about this. And then automation. So let's say you have changes in files, you can also use automation to do different things, to bring them together in a way, to handle conflicts and all of that usually someone would have to do manually. But if you bring version control into that, you are capable of using more automation than before. And then what exactly is Coalesce doing in that terms? So talking about Git, which I will cover later as well, it's basically one of the biggest concepts, or one of the biggest softwares or supporters in terms of this version control. There's Git. And there are also a lot of other providers who make use of Git. Git is basically this, I think, open source version control, which runs in the background and makes sure that there are some structures, some processes that help using these best practices in software development to make sure your version control is up to the best state that is possible. And in Coalesce, you have the native integration for that. So your whole project is Git-based. From all the nodes that you have, all the configurations you have, all the graphs and other files, packages, everything is Git-based, and you are able to use the version control on all of that, which is awesome, of course, because you will always know, like here on the right side, let's say do one change, you will always know, okay, this change happened and this I can bring to Git. And you have the great support here from the platform. And like I said, nodes, templates, configs, everything is automatically version controlled. You just need to set up your Git. And once that is set up, you're able to bring everything in the repository. You connect it with your Coalesce data platform, and everything is basically version controlled, backed up. So you will always have the 4 and even more benefits from up here that are listed with all your projects. Yeah, you also have a seamless Git integration. So you have branches, pull requests, similar things. They are all supported within the UI or on external Git platforms. And one example is here on the right side. For example, this is this Git overview you have in Coalesce, and you see your current branch. So right now, for example, in this example, I was in the branch Deep Pollard Playground, and you can also see the current commit. So the most recent one, the name of it, and you can also see the changes that it brings in. So for example, I had some new nodes that I added. I changed some node types. There was a subgraph I added. I added packages and some environment mappings. And I can choose here if I want to stage all, if I want to unstage all, or if I want to get rid of all the changes. So for example, you can also open the drop down on each change and you can choose, okay, this one I want to take in this commit. And then you start your first commit, for example, changing environment mappings. And you have the first part here from these changes already out on the branch. And then you can split it into multiple commits. For example, also the nodes here, you can check these as well and then start another commit saying, yeah, added nodes and similar. And you can split all of that into as small, as granular as you want to. And all of that is supported within the UI here in Coalesce. Yeah, now version control with Git in Coalesce. Similar, like I was saying, the general concepts first. Git is this industry standard for code versioning. Usually, whenever you work in some software development, or it could be anything that has to do with files, you will see or you will find Git that is used for versioning, especially in really big projects, I would say, because it takes away a lot of pain. And also brings a lot of best practices in for you when you are developing. You're also able to separate your different environments. Let's say you have one environment where you do your pure development. You have one part where you have testing. For example, you could have your own developers testing there. You could also have this separate environment where you just make it available for the user to have their tests running there. For example, business tests, similar things that you had a recent change that was first in development, and then you bring it into testing where the user can access these changes and can say, hey, whatever you did there was great, or hey, whatever you did there, it's not exactly what we wanted, so it has to go back to development. And then also, yeah, the production environment, of course, where everything is running. And you are able to split these also into different branches. So you know, okay, if I have some code changes now, I bring them into testing. That testing is different than in development, and also in production, I don't have the stuff that I'm currently testing or that I'm developing. And you're able to split or like separate this via branches. And like I said, it also enables you to work collaborative, to have these workflows where No one is super dependent from the other person. So everyone can create their branches, and then one person works on this, the other person works on this. And then in the end, you can bring it together and you can have one code base without anything breaking or anyone overwriting changes of the other person, hopefully. Also because you first of all have these workflows, but then you also have these controlled merges where okay, now this part is done, this feature that I wanted to develop, I will bring it back. And then I also see what has changed, how is it going to impact the branch where I bring the code in, and is everything fine if I just do it like that? Or are there also other changes from someone else who I need to take into consideration? But this will be figured out mostly by Git in these controlled merges. And then within Coalesce, we are also able to easily just work in individual branches directly within the UI. So I showed you that on the last slide, that every time you're working Git-based or version control-based, you have these branches, and you always know which one you're working in. And usually if you want to bring a change to main, you would first create your own feature branch, and then you would work on there, and then later bring this into main if you want to merge it. But all of that is available within the UI, so you don't need to work in the CLI, which might be difficult for some people who are still a little bit unexperienced using Git. But Coalesce helps you here by making everything available in the UI as easy as possible. Yeah, and then every time you do a structural change, like I mentioned earlier, for example, you have new nodes, you have a different logic, metadata, anything that changes in the project can be made or put into a Git commit. So like I was showing, if I bring in a new node, I can create a Git commit out of that. If I do any changes to some config, to environment configs, I can make Git commit out of that. That also first makes it easy to have this traceability again, because I know this was changed, and this was changed, in which order, which dates, everything, what parts were impacted. And then in case something goes wrong, I am also able to take the commit back. That makes it so if you take things into small pieces, it makes it easier, because you're able to just take out single pieces or small pieces and take these back in case they broke something, or in case you figured out it doesn't really help with performance or similar. Then you can just take it back, this commit, and that's also why it's best to make the commits as small as possible. And yeah, also Coalesce supports the major Git platforms. So for example, you have GitHub, you have GitLab, Azure DevOps, Bitbucket. All of those are supported as long as you're using Git. Coalesce will most likely or definitely support your platform, and you are free to use whatever is possible in your company or which one you prefer. And then you can set up the Git connection here in Coalesce. Now coming to deployments in Coalesce. So here on the right side, I have a little illustration for you, what I mentioned earlier. For example, like if you have your master branch and you have a bug fix or you have a feature, then this helps, or you can imagine it this way, that you have a split, like a split branch from the main branch that, for example, has your bug fix, and then later this is being implemented into your master branch again. Or similar for a feature, you take it out of your master branch, or in whatever way you want to have your Git workflow, and you develop your feature, and then you bring it into your master branch, or however you want to call that main branch, when the feature is developed and done. So yeah, and then talking about deployments. So what is a deployment? You're moving your developed logic into target environments. So let's say you developed something new in your development environment, and now you want to bring it to production. You could do that in that deployment way. So you say, okay, this code is done. I know I have it in the version control, and now I want to make sure that this takes a real impact. So I'm deploying it. So actually, for example, if you have a database or you have some Data Vault project, you have the code for it, and then you bring it actually on your database so that you have the new object there, or you modify the object. This is the deployment. And also that can happen over different environments. For example, production, staging, or UAT or something, what I mentioned earlier. And most often or many times, this is also automated. So there is a variety of CI/CD tools that you can use to, whenever, for example, you have a new commit, that this is getting deployed to development or hopefully not to production right away. But you see where I'm coming from and what I mean. So you can make it as simple as possible for the developers. They just need to commit it, and then automatically it's getting deployed to the environment. And then in Coalesce, you are also able to automate your pipelines. You can use the CLI or the API to automate these pipelines. So you also have the help there. Whenever you deploy something, the code is being compiled, and then also the code or the nodes are running with the newest changes. For example, you change one name and you deploy it. So this new name change is also running against your environment. And then you know, once this deployment is done, that you have it with the newest changes on your database. And now I would say, let's go over to the demo, because I prepared something for you, which we can look into. So maybe you still know this from the last 1, 2, 3 times that I have some kind of, like a test environment here, like example node or graph with plenty of nodes. And today what we want to do is I am going to create an additional node, and we are going to create a commit out of that and then also deploy that. So I was thinking we are just going to do something simple. So what I'm going to do is, or maybe first of all, I've already set up my Git account here. That is important as the first step. You have to connect your Git account, GitHub account, wherever you want to host the repository. And you also have to make sure that you have a new branch in there. I think you can also create it here. I already created one. And you can see it down here. There's my name, the Polar Playground. That is the branch I'm currently working in. There's a commit that I did 2 hours ago. And if you see this, you know your version control is set up and Git is running. And also here you can click on this, and then you can see what I showed you earlier in the presentation, that you have your branch here, you have a current commit. See, for example, I added some environment settings here. I also have some uncommitted stages changes because I deleted something earlier. And you can also see all the branches. For example, you can change within the branches here. And you can then also see all the commits that happened here, whether they were deployed, where they were deployed, which workspace is using them. You can create new branches out of these commits, for example. You can also do merges here, but right now I have uncommitted changes, so I can't do that right now. And you can also, change within your, or change from your branch here into others, for example, main or another playground. And also you're able to fetch. So whenever there are some new branches incoming, new changes, you can fetch all of that using that. So this is the interface, and I would say let's get into action. So I just want to quickly demonstrate that, and because of that I will do something simple. So I am going to use the hub customer here and the satellite for customer. I'm going to connect these two, and I just want to see the results out of both of them. So I'm just going to create a quick fact. I'm not doing any aggregations. I just want to keep it simple. And you can already see it took the columns here from the hub. But now I also want to connect the satellite. So I'm taking it from here, pulling it in. And now I'm also getting the columns from the satellite. I need to adjust the join here. It's already suggesting it to me, so I can just copy it to the editor, and then I have to take this out. And here I just need to make sure that it's taking the right column to join. So this is HK customer H on both sides. So let me change that, HK customer H. Then I can copy paste that over here as well, since it's the same name on both tables. And now I didn't change a lot yet, but you can already see that this new node is now here, fact customer, and it's connecting the customer hub and the satellite here. So now we need to do a little bit more. So we don't want to have the same column 2 times. So I'm kicking this out. This also we don't need. This we don't need. So I'm taking these out. Yes. And I'm going to move this one down here. And now I think there's only one thing left. This I still need to change. And I need to choose the business key here. I'm just taking the hash key from the hub. And that should be it. Now let's see. Let's create that. Hope the journey is working. So it's running against the database now. Okay, was created successfully. Create fact table. And you can see, wait, I will do it a little bigger. You can see the create statement here was created with all these columns. And now I'm also going to run it. So it's going to fill it with data. Takes a minute or a second. And now we can see we have the customer hash key here, the business key itself. I should have chosen this here, but it's okay. And all the data from the satellite as well. So this is working. And now what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to call that fact customer demo, because I was already trying that out earlier and I just want to make sure that everything runs fine here. And what we are going to do now is we're going to change to Git. And now we can see that we have changes here. So first of all, from earlier, I had this node already here to test it out, and I deleted that afterwards. So we can see there's a deletion here that Git is also showing. So first of all, there was that. Now we have that. So the file is gone and empty. And now on the other side here, I added a new node, fact customer demo. And you can see previous, it was empty. Current, it's built and full of configuration. And now what we're going to do here is we are going to take that into one commit. You could also split it into two if you want to. You can say, you can check this here. You could just say one commit deleting this file, second one adding this file, but I'm just going to put both of them into one commit. And deleting fact customer and adding almost typo, fact customer demo. So both of these are staged. That means I can now commit and push. And they are both going to get synced to the current branch. Okay, commit and push successful. So that means now we have these in our branch. And if I would change to my Git provider of choice, for example, GitHub, I would see there that I have a new commit that added and deleted this one file. So now coming to the next step, let's say we are in development and now we want to make sure that this change is also deployed into our development environment. Then we first have to set up an environment here, which I already did. So we have a production environment, we have a UAT environment, and basically there, what you do is you tell Coalesce right now that where's your production environment, where's your UAT environment, so which database, which schema, and where should it put these tables. So you can split out of that, you can create as much environments as you want, and you can then use the deployment features here that Coalesce is bringing your developments or your new changes into these environments. And now we quickly show it to you, how that looks like. So as you can see, I was already trying that out earlier. There are a couple of deployments here. And we have different environments. We have development, we have UAT, and we have production. And now what we want to do is we want to bring our newest development into UAT so that the user can check if that is what they wanted, and then they can approve it or not approve it. And yeah, there's this wizard here where I have to first choose the brand where I want to select or deploy something from. And then I can see all the commits that are in here. I can also see the commit messages here. So what happened there? I can see who did it. I can see this hash number here for the commit, when it happened, and also whether it's used by a workspace or if it's also deployed in some environment already. So for example, here I can see this commit is already deployed in the UAT environment. And now we have our newest change here, the deletion and the adding of the customer demo. And I want to deploy this one. So I'm checking this one next. You can also add a couple of parameters here if you want to do it more specific. I'm going to skip this part or just click next, leave it empty. And now Coalesce is trying to resolve this deployment. Takes a little bit, but now you can see the changes. So you have different categories here. What can be added are nodes, packages, node types, macros, mapping, subgraph, and jobs. So for example, in jobs, we didn't add anything. Subgraphs, there was also nothing new. There is still something old in here. And for the environments, there's something, but I think node types, facts. Not node types, but nodes. That is what we want to look into. And now here we can see the changes. You can also choose here also to only see the changes only. And you can see here what it would do. It would create the node. And deleting this node. So you know, okay, what are the changes that are being deployed and what exactly is it doing there? Everything in that really nice summary and overview here. And now what we are going to do is we are going to deploy this. So it's also running a couple of seconds again. And then this should close and you would see the summary of the deployments that are happening. So now you see our deployment is going on here. It's running currently. And after some time, it should switch into green, into okay and successful. And then now we know this was deployed. So now we know into our UAT environment, we have this one here, this node fact customer deleted. And we also added the new node fact customer demo. And yeah, if then you would change over to your database, you would also see that depending on what you configured here, that Coalesce changed the objects on the database accordingly. So one is gone, one is, there's one less node now and one new one was added. And yeah, that is what I wanted to show you. And I hope you got a good overview of how it works, how you can use your version control in Coalesce, and also how you can then later deploy these changes into your environments. In case you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can either use this QR code here to submit your questions and topics that you would be interested in also for our upcoming sessions. We would really like to take into consideration things that you are interested in, because that also helps us. You will see more upcoming sessions from us on YouTube, and maybe also this is happening every third Thursday of the month. And also maybe in the future, we will also host more live sessions in case there are questions that we would like to take into more of an interactive session. But for now, YouTube is where you will find us every third Thursday of the month, and feel free to leave your questions